can you imagine, as Jesus brought this past up, the kind of guilt and shame he must have been feeling? Jesus was bringing up Peter's past. This is really important for us to hear. Jesus was reminding Peter about his past, a very recent past, where he denied Christ 3 times. He reminded Peter of that by asking him 3 times, "Do you really love me?" And Peter, can you imagine, as Jesus brought this past up, the kind of guilt and shame he must have been feeling? But Jesus wasn't bringing up his past to hurt him. He was bringing up his past to heal him. Jesus wasn't bringing up his past to shame him. He was bringing up his past to bring the shame out of him. We need to remember that, because how Jesus treats Peter is how Jesus treats us. Jesus was bringing up his past not to shame him, but to bring the shame out of him. Sometimes Jesus brings up our past not so that we get to wallow in the shame, but to bring the shame out and bring healing into our lives. Jesus was treating Peter gently, but to find true healing, he had to hurt Peter just a little bit. I think that's how Jesus treats us. And we want him to treat us that way. You know, just thinking about it, we learn from our mistakes in the past. That's just a way life works. In fact, a lot of times we learn the best from our mistakes. You know what's really wise? If we can learn from other people's mistakes. But I am so stubborn and dumb sometimes that I can see people make the mistake and then I go and do it so I can learn myself. But Jesus treats us this way when he reminds us of our past to bring us into the forgiven present. Because what does he do with Peter here when he says, "Do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, I do." And he's bringing up that time he betrayed him the first time, the time he betrayed him the second time, the time he betrayed him the third time. Each time, Jesus is telling him, "You're forgiven, and I want you back on my team." This is how Jesus treats us. He cancels out our debt, gives us complete forgiveness by him dying on the cross. And then in his resurrection, he comes and he restores the relationship. He says, "I'm not angry with you. I'm not upset with you. I don't hold it against you. The relationship is still open. I want you to be with me." And that is the beauty of the forgiveness that Jesus offers. He restores the relationship. He does it by reminding us of our past to bring us into the forgiveness of the present. And in the forgiveness of the present, this is so good. This is so good. We now know what to do after we sin. It's so important to do the right thing after we sin. After we sin, we run back to Jesus because his arms are ready to receive us. After we sin, we trust in his sacrifice. When Jesus died on the cross, he took our sins off of us and put them on his body, nailing them to the cross, putting our sins to death, paying the debt we owe God. If you don't believe it, look at the scars on his hands and his resurrected body. The scar in his side. The scars prove the love he had for us, that he died for us in our place. Go back to Jesus. Go back to the cross. Go back to those scars. Trust him. This is what we do when we sin in the present. He brings up our past not to shame us, but bring the shame out of us so we can go to him in the present and ask for forgiveness. When we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins. And he wants us to live in that new freedom, not just in the debt cancellation, but in the restored relationship.